to all. Welcome to another edition of the Prime Minister's press conference. I want to recognize the presence of my cabinet colleagues this afternoon and to thank them for coming. I want to thank Ms. Jackie Bryan, who is holding the fort today, and to thank her for the necessary facilitations and courtesies she has extended in the absence of Valencia Grant, the press secretary. It is for me a pleasure to be able to update you on matters of national interest. And my goal, of course, is to have an open and transparent relationship with the people of St. Kitts and Nevis on all matters of state. A major matter on the national calendar is the 2021 federal budget. We are advanced in our finalization of the 2021 budget. As we have done since 2015, it is our intention to deliver the 2021 budget way in advance of the statutory deadline, which is 60 days after the commencement of the financial year to which the budget relates. There should be the laying of the estimates. In this regard, I am hopeful that with the grace of God, I will be able to deliver the 2021 budget address on Tuesday, the 15th of December, 2020. In this year's budget address, I will outline programs to chart the recovery effort made necessary by the impact of COVID-19. COVID-19 is still with us. The entire world has been scarred by it. Its impact has been brutal on health systems and people around the world. As we speak, COVID-19 has affected more than 62.2 million persons, and it has caused about 1.4 million deaths globally. There are millions who have been put out of work, airlines seeking bailouts, and the cruise industry has drastically slowed. In fact, cruise business is literally at a standstill in our part of the world. Here in St. Kitts and Nevis, we have fared better than most in terms of COVID-19 cases and associated deaths. Luckily for us, we have no deaths on record caused by COVID-19. We have 22 cases, the lowest number of COVID-19 cases of any independent state in the hemisphere. And we have 3, I am advised, which are active. The economic impact of COVID-19 has been severe all over. Here in St. Kitts, thousands lost their jobs. Some persons and businesses are experiencing financial difficulties, and we shall respond appropriately in the 2021 budget. We have to reprioritize what we want to do, both as a people and as a country. Had it not been for our prudent financial management, starting early o'clock in 2015, leading up to the advent of COVID-19, the economy of St. Kitts and Nevis would have been destroyed and our people overwhelmed. Our strong fiscal buffers then gave us the financial space to respond. Thankfully, our government responded very quickly and decisively. We announced, for example, a $120 million stimulus package, the biggest and the most comprehensive in our region. This helped to lessen the suffering in our country and help many to keep their heads above water as we work assiduously to reopen all areas of the economic sector over time, while recognizing that we must put the health and safety of our people first. In other words, our government adopted a life-saving strategy. Life first, everything else thereafter. To date, we are very pleased of some of the outcomes. For example, all of our export manufacturing plants are operating under COVID-19 protocols. About 90% of the employees at our main export manufacturing plants, such as Jaro, Cajola Cristado, Rush Company, API Harrissover Limited, Sun Island Clothes, Carib Breweries, Demerara Distillers St. Kitts Limited, and Electrofab are back to work. Our largest employer in the export enclave manufacturing sector is Jaro, and it continues its retrofitting efforts to re-engage more of its employees under COVID-19 protocols. Since the reopening of our borders to regular commercial traffic on October 31st, 2020, our R.L. Batter International Airport and the Vance Amory International Airport have recorded 284 inbound flights and 283 outbound flights. Passenger movements recorded 742 arrivals and 753 departures for a passenger throughput of 1,495. Our principal carrier so far is American Airlines. Other smaller airlines, such as SVG Air, Trans-Anguilla, Air Sunshine, and a range of other private charters have come and gone. Liat, I am advised, is due to begin a Saturday service to the island very shortly, and Ms. Raquel Brown from Tourism could perhaps give more in relation to that. Just recently, the government took a decision to forego Liat's debt to St. Kitts and Nevis in the region of some $11 million. We did this on the request of the liquidator, taking into account Liat's ill health and as part of our commitment to regional integration and regional travel. We accept that Liat is the largest carrier supporting intra-regional travel, and without Liat, there is a major void that has a significant impact on the ease of movement of citizens, residents, and visitors to the region. Mindful of the challenges that Liat has faced, we believe that we must take this position in the best interests of the people of St. Kitts and Nevis and the region as a whole. So far from the stats I've given, the air traffic has been modest in terms of loads, reflecting the international situation of a general low demand for travel, particularly of long duration. The opening up of our borders has facilitated the return of some of our nationals, permanent residents, and overseas students, among others. Our careful step-by-step approach has allowed us time to test our systems of control and take necessary corrective actions as appropriate. We anticipate improvement in passenger arrivals in 2021, given, among other things, the good news of the imminent availability of a vaccine. Several vaccines appear ready for human use, and there is optimism that in the medium term, short to medium term, there will be better control of the virus with the resultant recovery of the global economy. Indeed, the professionals are saying, until the situation with the pandemic is stabilized, put under effective control, there can be no sustainable recovery of the global economy. In the meantime, we must act appropriately by strict compliance with the non-pharmaceutical measures, such as the wearing of the mask, hand hygiene, physical and social distancing. The hosting of events with large crowds, particularly where persons will consume alcohol or drugs and engage in constant face-to-face or body contact, can lead to the spread of the virus. These events must be kept to a minimum, and better yet, they should be avoided. I have taken that counsel to myself, and accordingly I have advised the organizers of the annual Prime Minister's New Year's Gala that the event should be cancelled. This event would normally bring upwards of 500 persons in a single space at the Marriott Ballroom Hotel. I have concluded that it would not send the right signal to have such an event in the midst of the coronavirus pandemic. I want to extend regrets to all the patrons and encourage persons to contribute the monies that they would have spent on this event to a church or to do a good charitable act in keeping with our all of society approach. We will face 2021 with greater enthusiasm and a higher confidence in the stronger and safer future. We take hope at the increasing confidence in the business community reflected in a number of developments. In spite of COVID-19, for this year so far, we have approved more business licenses than ever before in the history. Approvals for business license for the year ended 30th of October reached an all-time high of 773 licenses approved. For the year 2014, there were only 419 approvals. In 2019, we had 623 approvals. In April of 2020, there were only 4 approvals. I think that dramatized the impact of the pandemic and people's confidence and people's willingness to engage in any activity. Since April, we have seen remarkable recoveries. In 1 month, we reached as high as think of about 110 approvals. In some, more businesses are being formally set up than at any other time in history. This, in our view, goes well for increasing economic activity, jobs, and earnings. The second element of good news has to do from the housing market. The first mortgage program to which our government waives duty and customs service charge on building material has recorded 140 successful applications so far. This is the highest number of approvals under that program since 2014. This concession and duties and customs service charge provides a significant savings to persons who are ready to build their first residential property, and it is open not just to government employees, but to any citizen. So if you are interested in building, you can save a significant bit on the building materials by applying through the Ministry of Finance for concession under the first mortgage program. TDC housing project at Doas is expected to get started in earnest, I am advised, in 2020. And the Deputy Prime Minister brought me the news of this good development. The TDC development, though, is targeted at middle and high middle income persons who would wish to obtain their home. To facilitate that particular project, the government provided TDC with a concession of a 2.5% on the transfer, the stamp duties involved in this particular venture. I gather that pre-sales are going very well. We are prepared in order to encourage further activity in that field to extend similar support to locals engaging in residential construction. Fifthly, the Royal St. Kitts Hotel in Frigate Bay continues to demonstrate strong confidence in the government policy and the vibrancy of the economy. Mr. Zuliani continues to build out the Royal Plaza. The second project, called the Cove, is nearing completion and will bring an additional 24 rooms to our hotel stock. The Cove condominium project is expected to be completed in February of 2021. Mr. Zuliani has promised to start another investment in high-end luxury villas, and I anticipate that a groundbreaking will commence in December on this new villa development. Of course, the construction of residential properties, and any other property for that matter, means jobs for our people, money in their pockets, a decent living, and a boost in the economic activity through the purchase of goods and services. The sixth area of significance is that the government capital projects continue to be built out after an initial slowing in the period immediately after the advent of COVID-19. In the upcoming budget, we will advise of which of those projects will be continuing and of new projects to be started early in the new year. I want to turn to the STEP and the government auxiliary employees. The government is moving forward with plans for the regularization and transition of the STEP workers to government auxiliary employees. The STEP has approximately 3,000 plus employees assigned across the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. Of this total, 1,811 employees are assigned to the public sectors, both in St. Kitts and in Nevis, and 1,261, I'm advised, are assigned to private sector actors. Following the June 5th general elections, a STEP Regularization and Pensions Reform Committee was immediately established to chart the way forward and to make recommendations to ensure these developments or the promises which we made to these workers would be fulfilled. I want to commend the work of the Accountant General, Mr. Levi Bratcher, who presides over that committee, and the committee has been deliberating in a very efficient way. They have to date submitted some 4 submissions for considerations to the Cabinet surrounding the establishment of the Government Auxiliary Employees Commission, a requirement of law, the operationalization of the new contributory pension fund, the appointment of members to the Government Auxiliary Employees Commission, and regularization of the step workers. I can report that the members of the Government Auxiliary Employees Commission are now appointed. Dr. Henry Brown, QC, heads the commission. The other members of the commission approved by Cabinet are Mr. Winston Morris, an agriculturalist, Mrs. Torfrida Trester, human resource specialist, and Mrs. Sylvia Isaac, a retired nurse. To ensure during the transition that no migration of ghost workers takes place to the GAE platform, a comprehensive exercise of employee verification was conducted by the Office of the Accountant General in collaboration with the government's Human Resource Management Department with assistance of the relevant line ministries and departments in St. Kitts and in Nevis. We are now satisfied that we can rely on the data. We have started discussions with the step workers about a fair day's work for a fair day's pay. New hours of work have been provided, and they are to be strictly adhered to. Those who do not work will not be paid unless their absence was approved for a legitimate purpose, such as illness. We are working hard to elevate the level of respect, the pride, discipline, and industry among all step workers. And it is important that we do so, since being a small island state, our human resources is critical and vital. And that is why, too, at the level of the public sector, we have embarked on discussions which Ambassador Amri is heading regarding, as it were, pay for performance, how we can introduce more efficiency in the public sector. The values and the positive attitude towards work are critical to the successful development of our young nation, and the need to be complemented with a zeal for excellence in all that we do as a people. Recently, we had some high anxiety relating to the significant slippage of land and the collapse of a road in a section of Fort Tyson Rise at Frigate Bay. My government sympathizes with those affected by this event, especially the property owners and their tenants. We have responded quickly to that matter. The public interest, of course, was and is to minimize loss of lives and injury to persons, and of course, to mitigate avoidable damage to property. I must commend the agencies and departments of the government, such as NEMA, Public Works, and the Department of Social Services, for their quick response to this situation. I acknowledge that the Department of Social Services has extended support to some tenants who became displaced. The department also provided food and other necessities to tenants and others who had become suddenly, unexpectedly displaced and indisposed. At this moment, I am advised that the area has stabilized and some homeowners and tenants have returned to their residences. I'm advised that Mr. Alexis Hazel has provided assistance with the reinstatement of the road, and all residents are now able to access their homes. Our gratitude is extended to Mr. Hazel for his public spiritedness. The general situation is now one of calm. The Public Works has estimated that the damage can be put in the region of $7 million. EC. In order to accommodate VAT days, VAT the sales, the government will pay its salaries on Thursday, December 17th, 2020. Just about 1,200 non-establishment workers will also receive their honorarium on December 17, 2020. Some time ago, the honorarium was discontinued by the former administration, and the wild promise that their situation would be regularized. Having taken note of the injustice to that category of government employees, we are determined, until their situation was regularized, we will pay them the honorarium, which I gather is about 2% of their annual accumulative wages. I want to call for discipline on the upcoming VAT days and to urge all shoppers and suppliers of goods and services to practice physical distancing, the wearing of masks, and the practice of good hand hygiene. As per usual, the security forces will be put on full alert to maintain law and order. And we really want to have the best behavior on VAT days. The overcrowding, the rushing, and all those ill-advised behavior will not be encouraged. We are asking that all suppliers of goods and services put the requisite protocols in place to ensure good order is maintained at the premises. And it can be done. I gather a good model had been one exercised by TDC recently at one of their sales. They were able to manage that activity by involving the security forces. The security forces stand ready to assist any business place in making the appropriate determinations to ensure that all will go well. The 2020 hurricane season ended thankfully on the 30th of November 2020. We are grateful to the Almighty God that we had no serious storm visiting our islands. Members would recall, members of the public, that this season was predicted to be one of the most active in history. Indeed, we exhausted all the names and had to then turn to the Greek, as it were, system to find additional names for hurricanes. With all that activity, we have been spared, and we are happy for that. Someone said amen. I commend the vigilance of the staff at NEMA, who remained alert and aware as systems developed and kept the nation informed throughout the period. Of course, the monitoring of storms has always been a collaborative exercise involving NEMA, the Met Office, and several other entities, so I commend them all. We will continue to build up the resilience of our country, thereby mitigating our vulnerabilities to climate change and the associated more dangerous hurricanes. Finally, allow me to record my appreciation to the people of Constituency 7, who in 7 general elections, starting in 1993, elected me to serve as their Member of Parliament. In 2020, they gave me my strongest mandate. I owe a debt of gratitude to them and the people of this country generally. I shall continue to give yeoman service to my beloved people and country. And on this note, I would pause to allow the representatives of the media to pose any questions on these matters that have been raised.